The poison test went wrong when the human asked, fast, painful, or impossible to trace. The lab was too quiet. Exam pods sat in straight lines under a white ceiling. Inside each pod, a student from a different world stared at a glowing screen. At the front of the room stood Instructor Carvel. His black, plated skin shone in the cold light. For narrow eyes watched every twitch. He had taught one subject for a long time, toxic threats. On the course list, it was Advanced Xenotoxic Systems. Most students just called it the poison class. Today was the final exam. Molecular chains, cell paths, antidote designs. Near the middle sat the only human. Jace looked relaxed. One leg hooked over the other. Shoulders loose. Dark hair in his eyes. But his answers flooded the screen in tight, neat lines. Through his neural link, Carvel watched solution after solution appear. It was always like this. Casual body. Sharp mind. The exam ran smoothly at first. Most students slowed at the same points. Synthetic venoms, cross-species reactions, converting safe dose into lethal dose. Then a small light blinked on Carvel's console. Exam Pod 27 had raised a hand. Carvel's antennae flexed. No one called during a final unless something was very wrong. Hardware failure, health crisis, or something worse. He walked across the floor on silent jointed legs and stopped beside the human's pod. "Cadet Jace," he said. "State the issue." Jace looked up, brown eyes steady. "Sir, I need to check something about question 12. Carvel opened the mirrored view. Question 12 was simple. 8 neuroactive compounds. 1 table, 1 line of text. Rank these in order of overall danger. What is unclear? Carvel asked. His voice stayed flat, but the air felt colder. Around them, stylus tips slowed. Several students pretended not to listen and clearly did. Jace tapped the list. "The problem is missing context, sir. Do you want danger as in kills fastest, hurts most, or hardest to trace after the body is found?" The room did not go silent. It stopped. A scaled student 2 rows ahead made a choking hiss and shut down their screen. In the back corner, a crystal-limbed being froze, edges humming at a high, sharp pitch. Red symbols flashed on the far wall as the room's security system woke up. Carvel's secondary lungs kicked in, an old stress reflex. "Cadet," he said slowly, "this exam covers theoretical hazard analysis. Practical use is not part of the course." "Oh, I know," Jace said at once. His tone stayed light. "I'm not asking how to use them. I'm asking how to grade them. The order changes depending on what we care about. Fast death? Long suffering? Clean escape? Different metric, different ranking." A hard tone sounded above them. "Security Protocol Prime Red. Engaged." The doors sealed with a soft thud. Ceiling units shifted, hidden defenses waking up. Someone near the front let out a thin, rising whine. No one was writing now. Every eye was fixed on the human. Carvel had read reports about humans and their dangerous world. None of that felt like this. This was a young man calmly sorting poisons into categories the way others sorted songs. He realized, with a hollow weight in his chest, that Jace truly did not understand what he had done. Carvel made a choice. His voice rang through the room. "All candidates except Cadet Jace will evacuate to Auxiliary Hall 2. Your exam time will be extended. Leave your devices. Go now." Chairs scraped. Claws clicked. Tentacles dragged. In less than a minute, the lab emptied. Only 2 figures remained among the silent pods. The insectoid teacher and the human student who had asked a question the galaxy was not ready to hear. Jace glanced around at the vacant seats, then back at Carvel. Did I break something, sir?" Above them, the projector field shimmered as a secure channel opened to higher authority. Carvel did not answer. He was no longer sure if his brightest pupil would become the galaxy's best shield against poison, or its most polite disaster. The holographic channel flickered to life above the instructor's desk. Figures from the Academy Oversight Council shimmered into view, some with feathers, some with crystalline faces, some with no visible faces at all. Every one of them stared with the same expression. Deep, alarmed confusion. Carvel bowed his head. "Council members, priority alert as requested." The student remains contained. Jace blinked up at the projection. He gave a small, awkward wave. "Hello?" Several council members recoiled at once. A long, eel-like representative hissed. "Instructor Carvel, state the cause for activation of Prime Red." Carvel's mandibles clicked softly. The human requested clarification regarding the practical execution parameters of multiple neuroactive compounds. It was just ranking criteria, Jace said quickly, trying to help. He really shouldn't have tried to help. I only needed to know if we're thinking fastest kill, most painful, or hardest to detect after. Stop, 3 voices shouted at once. A crystalline counselor's body brightened into a frantic swirl of colors. Human, why would such distinctions enter your mind during an academic test? Jace frowned in honest confusion. Because those are the normal categories. That's how danger is evaluated back home. A feathered representative pressed both wings to their face. Back home, Carvel watched the conversation spiral, each sentence making the room feel tighter. Jace wasn't trying to disturb anyone. He simply answered like someone saying the sky was blue. The human had no idea what was happening around him. Earth educational programs, murmured a council member as she pulled up data streams, include entire study branches on toxic events, chemical murders, environmental poisonings, detection avoidance. What is this? It's just basics, Jace said with a small shrug. Kids learn some of it growing up. Not the complicated stuff, just what to stay away from. Dangerous plants, bad mushrooms, venomous things. Children. The room went still again. A reptilian counselor leaned so close to the camera that his scales filled half the projection. Your younglings study death plants? Well, yeah. You kinda need to know which berries won't make you drop dead. Silence. Thicker this time. Something cracked in the corner. One of the crystal-limbed species had literally fractured from stress. Carvel felt the weight of responsibility settling onto his shoulders. This was no longer an exam incident. This was rapidly becoming a diplomatic crisis. The council members began whispering among themselves in encrypted channels. Their voices layered over each other in a storm of overlapping fear. Is the human weaponized? Are they trained from birth? Is this a cultural red flag? Do they teach killing methods academically? Jace sat politely through it all, tapping the edge of his tablet, looking more like a patient customer than the center of interstellar panic. He leaned toward Carvel. Sir, should I move to a different room too? Because everyone else left. Carvel stared at him. He realized then that Jace was not dangerous in intention, but in perspective. The galaxy had no place in its rulebook for a species who survived daily life by studying how not to die from nature's constant attempts to kill them. The council finally stabilized enough to speak again. Human student, said the leading delegate, voice strained. We must evaluate your cultural background before any further academic participation. You will remain where you are until security analysts arrive. Jace nodded, calm as ever. Sure. No rush. That made the entire council flinch again. Carvel exhaled slowly. The ripple Jace had triggered was spreading outward, through security networks, cultural databases, and every species who thought they understood humanity. They had not understood at all. And Jace, sitting calmly in his sealed exam pod, had no idea that one innocent question had shaken an entire star system. Security arrived fast. 2 officers entered the exam hall with the careful steps of people approaching an explosive device. Their armor plates shifted softly as they scanned Jace's pod with handheld sensors. The readings came back normal, but their expressions did not relax. Human subject stable, one murmured. Stable, but unervingly calm. The comment seemed to surprise Jace. Should I not be calm? I'm just waiting. The officers stiffened like statues. Instructor Carvel gestured them forward. Please escort Cadet Jace to the assessment chamber. He is not under arrest, merely under review. Jace stood, collected his tablet, and followed them without complaint. His steps were easy. Too easy. Not a hint of fear. Not the slightest reaction to the sealed doors, the armed guards, or the fact that he was being taken to a restricted sector. That only made the officers more nervous. The hallway walls changed from bright academy white to brushed metal. Lights grew dimmer. The air colder. Carvel walked behind them, antennae trembling, watching how the officers kept glancing at Jace as though expecting him to reveal secret weapons at any moment. But Jace was simply humming. A friendly, casual human tune. To him, this was an inconvenience. To them, this was a crisis. They reached a small gray room with a table, 2 chairs, and a hovering surveillance sphere. Everything was designed for clarity. No shadows, no corners, no hidden compartments. Pure transparency. Jace sat. The sphere whirred overhead, projecting a soft blue field around him. Officer Rel, tall and bird-like, took the first position at the table. Human, she began cautiously. We need you to explain your reasoning for question 12. Slowly. Jace nodded. Sure. What part? The part about fast kill, pain, and hard to detect. Why divide the danger like that? Well, those are the three main categories. Jace replied simply. That's how we're taught to think about toxins. Different dangers, different uses. Rel nearly fell backward out of her chair. Uses? She choked. You speak of applications? Jace frowned, realizing the misunderstanding. Not using them. Categorizing them. You can't judge danger unless you know what kind of danger. The second officer, heavy-built and reptilian, rubbed his forehead plates. Is this normal? For your species? Pretty normal, Jace said with a shrug. Earth has a lot of dangerous stuff. We grow up learning what can kill us. It's not weird. It's survival. The officer stared at him like he had just recited a horror story. Rel tapped her screen rapidly. Your academic record shows you took a course called Household Hazards. What is that? Oh, that? It's just a class about things that can poison you in your own house. Cleaning supplies. Garden plants. Wrong mushrooms. Your houses, Rel whispered, are filled with poisonous things? Jace blinked. Everyone's houses are. No, both officers said at the same time. The surveillance sphere beeped. The council was listening. Carvel stepped closer. Cadet Jace, does your species truly live surrounded by toxins? Jace laughed softly, shaking his head. Surrounded? Try engulfed. You can't take a walk without seeing something that could poison, sting, bite, or knock you over. A long silence followed. Officer Rel whispered. How? How do you live like that? Carefully, Jace said. You learn early. He looked up at them with honest innocence. You can't avoid danger if you don't understand how it works. None of them spoke. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the surveillance sphere, which was already transmitting everything to higher authorities. The academy had wanted to understand the human student. Instead, they were now trying to understand humans themselves. A species that studied poison the way others studied weather. A species that survived by knowing how the world could kill them. A species none of them were prepared for. The door slid open with a slow, heavy hiss. A new figure stepped inside. Lean, pale gray skin, long joints, and eyes that glowed faint amber. She carried no weapon, yet every guard in the hallway braced the moment they saw her. Carvel straightened at once. Cognitive specialist Dr. Venara, he said with a formal bow. Thank you for responding so quickly. She nodded once, barely acknowledging anyone except Jace. Her gaze lingered on him the way a scientist studies a creature never seen before. Not hostile, not fearful, just intensely curious. Jace lifted a hand politely. Hi. Every guard flinched. Dr. Venara took the seat across from him, folded her long fingers on the table, and asked in a calm, even voice. Tell me what dangers you were taught as a child. Jace blinked. All of them. Start with the first ones you learned. Well, Jace said, thinking back, when I was little, my parents taught me not to eat random plants. Some berries are fine, others can stop your heart. We learned about venomous bugs too, and how not to touch hot metal, and how to wash chemicals off your hands. And, stop, Dr. Venara said quietly, holding up one finger. Her expression didn't change, but her pulse flickered visibly in her throat. You learned these things as a small child? Of course, Jace said. Kids get into everything. Better to teach them early before they accidentally drink bleach or poke the wrong animal. Two guards nearly fainted. Dr. Venara took a slow breath. And this is normal? On your world? Very, Jace answered honestly. She leaned back, processing. Her inner eyelids flickered as her mind raced through thousands of cultural records. Your species is conditioned from birth to navigate lethal threats. Jace frowned. We're not conditioned. We just adapt. There's danger everywhere. So you learn. Carvel watched Dr. Venara's face. He had seen scholars shocked before. He had never seen one unmade by information. The specialist pressed deeper. Explain why you divided the toxins on the exam the way you did. Well, Jace said, pulling his tablet closer. Danger is complex. Some toxins kill fast, but leave clear signs. Some hurt a lot, but don't kill right away. Others are almost impossible to detect. On Earth, that matters. How? Dr. Venara asked softly. Jace hesitated. Not because the topic bothered him, only because he didn't understand why she was whispering. For treatment, he said. If a doctor knows the kind of danger, they can treat it faster. Fast death means emergency response. Slow death means time to diagnose. Hard to detect means you check for unusual things. Dr. Venara stared at him. You categorize poisons to save lives? Of course. He seemed confused by the question. What else would we do with the knowledge? A long, stunned silence hung in the air. Carvel's heart thudded in his chest. The guards exchanged glances. The surveillance drone dimmed its lights, running a heavy data analysis. Dr. Venara finally exhaled. Cadet Jace, you are not dangerous. Jace brightened. See? That's what I've been trying to tell everyone. She gave a slow shake of her head. No, you are not dangerous. Her amber eyes flickered toward the listening council beyond the walls. But your entire species might be. Jace's smile slowly faded. Dr. Venara stood and turned to Carvel. Instructor, we must initiate a full cross-species evaluation. Humanity's baseline survival training surpasses what most civilizations teach to soldiers. Carvel nodded, feeling the cold weight of the words. Jace tilted his head. Is that bad? Dr. Venara looked at him with a mix of respect and fear. It is not bad, she said. It is simply unprecedented. She stepped toward the exit. Prepare the council chamber. This incident is no longer academic. The door slid shut behind her, leaving Jace, the guards, and Carvel in a tense silence. One question, one misunderstanding, one human, and now the galaxy was about to rewrite everything it thought it knew about danger. The Grand Convergence Chamber was not meant for emergencies. It was meant for ceremonies, debates, slow policy changes that took months. But today, delegates packed the tiers in stunned silence, whispering as glowing screens displayed one repeating line. Subject of review, human behavioral baseline. Instructor Carvel stood near the edge of the room, Jace beside him under light escort. The human's posture was relaxed but attentive. He wasn't scared, only curious, like someone waiting to find out why a small mistake had turned into a galaxy-wide drama. Above them, the council chair, an ancient, silver-skinned being named Varel, struck her staff once. Boom. The chamber quieted instantly. Bring forth the specialist, Varel ordered. Dr. Venara stepped forward, data tablet glowing in her long fingers. Her eyes swept the audience, thousands of representatives from countless species, and then rested on Jace. This, she began calmly, is not an investigation of wrongdoing. It is a cultural examination. What we have learned today is simple and shocking. Her voice projected across the chamber. Humans survive by knowledge of danger. Their children are taught about poisons, venoms, lethal hazards, and fatal mistakes as part of basic life lessons. A ripple of gasps spread across the hall. One delegate rose, shaking. Are you saying their younglings are trained like soldiers? No, Dr. Venara said. I am saying their world demands it. She tapped a command, and the screens overhead filled with visuals. Earth's environments, jungles full of toxic plants, oceans filled with venomous creatures, deserts with deadly insects. Gasps turned into stunned silence. A crystalline ambassador whispered, how does any species survive such a home? Jace scratched the back of his neck. We just do. You learn what's safe and what's not. It becomes normal. Normal. The word echoed through the chamber like a threat. Another ambassador rose, massive and furred, with deep red eyes. Then this human, this student, when he asked about fast kill, pain, and hard to detect, he did not mean violence. No, Dr. Venara said firmly. He meant medical categories. A wave of confusion washed over the assembly. Medical what? For treatment, she explained. Different toxin categories require different emergency responses. Humans categorize danger because they must respond to it. Varel turned her gaze on Jace. Human student, tell us, in your own words, why you made such distinctions during an academic exam. Jace stepped forward. His voice was steady, clear, honest. Because knowing how something kills helps you stop it. He looked around the room. That's how doctors on Earth save people. Not a whisper moved. Not a flicker of motion. Thousands of delegates simply stared. Dr. Venara spoke more softly now, almost reverently. This is why humans appear frightening. Not because they seek danger, but because they study it to protect themselves and others. A three-eyed ambassador whispered, They learn the language of death to preserve life? Jace nodded. Yeah, exactly. Carvel watched every delegate slowly absorb this. He saw fear unravel and transform into something else. Understanding, perhaps even respect. But one representative, scaled, tall, and severe, rose sharply. And what if this knowledge is misused? What if humans choose to apply it offensively? The question hung like a blade. Everyone turned to Jace. He shrugged lightly. Look, we can misuse anything. Any species can. But most humans? We're more scared of hurting each other by accident than anything else. We learn all this because our world is dangerous, not because we are. A deep murmur filled the chamber. Some doubtful, some relieved, many thoughtful. Finally, Chair Varel lifted her staff. Enough. All voices went silent. Humanity's nature is clear. Their knowledge is not a threat, but a necessity born from harsh evolution. Their intent, in this case, was academic. Their question was logical. And their behavior aligns with survival, not malice. The chamber stirred with cautious agreement. Varel's silver eyes locked onto Jace. Human student, you may continue your studies. Jace exhaled slowly. Thank you. But Varel was not finished. However, this council must now reconsider our understanding of humanity. A species forged in a world of constant danger will not think as we do. She turned to the delegates. We must adapt, or misunderstandings will continue. The sound that followed was not panic. It was resolve. Dr. Venara stepped closer to Jace and lowered her voice. This is bigger than your exam, she said. Jace nodded. I kind of figured. And as the council prepared their next steps, Carvel realized something profound. The galaxy feared humans because it did not understand them. Now, it was beginning to. But understanding humanity was like opening a door to a storm. And the galaxy had only just stepped inside. When the council session ended, the delegates filed out in tight clusters, some whispering, some shaken, some strangely impressed. Whisper streams of data flickered through the air like glowing dust as species uploaded emergency cultural updates to their homeworlds. Human protocols, human risk tolerance, human survival logic. The galaxy had homework now. Jace followed Instructor Carvel down a long hallway lined with tall silver beams. They hummed softly every few seconds, scanning, recalibrating, running new behavioral algorithms written because of him. For the record, Jace said, breaking the silence, I didn't mean to cause all this. I just didn't want to get question 12 wrong. Carvel stopped walking. The instructor slowly turned toward him, antennae twitching with exhausted amusement. Cadet Jace, he said dryly, your wish to properly answer a test question nearly rewrote interstellar psychology doctrines. Jace winced. Cool. That sounds really bad when you say it out loud. It was. They kept walking. Security drones floated above them, not as guards now, but as observers rewriting protocols in real time. Occasionally one paused to scan Jace again, just to make sure humans were still safe, or at least predictably unsafe. As they stepped into an observation gallery, Carvel gestured at the windows. Below them, hundreds of students milled through the academy's courtyard. But something was different. Alien students spotted Jace through the glass, and rather than recoiling, they stared with awe. A group of avian cadets whispered urgently into their feathers. A crystalline scholar tapped notes into a tablet with rapidly flashing edges. 3 fungal students huddled, so close their spores merged in tiny clouds. Are they studying me? Jace asked, horrified. Yes, Carvel said. Your species is now officially a research topic. Jace dragged both hands down his face. Great. I'm a walking documentary. Before Carvel could respond, footsteps echoed behind them. Ambassador Zuri, slender, copper-skinned, and known for her diplomatic precision, approached with a cautious smile. Cadet Jace, she said, inclining her head. On behalf of the Alliance Liaison Office, I'd like to thank you. For what? For helping us avoid a catastrophic misunderstanding. When you spoke before the council, you made something clear. She folded her hands. That humans do not embrace danger. You endure it. And that changes everything. Jace took that in. Well, yeah, Earth's pretty intense. Intense, Zari repeated softly, as if the word itself was too small. Your world shapes your thinking, your reflexes, your instincts. Her eyes narrowed, not in suspicion, but in assessment. You would make a remarkable field researcher. Carvel straightened sharply. Ambassador, he is still my student. For now, she said gently. But the galaxy needs humans in positions we never considered before today. Environments too hazardous for most species. Emergencies too complex. Fields where understanding danger is not optional, but essential. She turned fully toward Jace. After your exams, we'd like to offer you a placement in the Interstellar Hazard Corps. Jace blinked. The Hazard Corps? That sounds, dangerous. Zari smiled warmly. To everyone else. Not to you. Carvel interjected, bristling. He is still developing. Humans require time to adapt to our systems. Precisely why we want him early, Zari replied. To build training around what humans naturally do. Jace opened his mouth, then closed it again. Carvel sighed deeply, then placed a firm hand on Jace's shoulder. Think carefully. This is no small path. But before Jace could answer, a soft ping echoed inside his tablet. A message. From another human student. Hey, you okay? News feed is going crazy. They're saying you started something big. Need anything? Jace let out a long breath. It's weird, he said quietly. Everyone up here thinks I'm dangerous. But the humans back home? They're just checking in. Ambassador Zari nodded. Because to them, this is normal. To us, it is revelation. Carvel looked out over the courtyard where alien students whispered about the quiet human being followed by diplomats and instructors. Cadet Jace, he said softly, you have changed the academy. Jace rubbed the back of his neck. Can I at least finish my exam first? Zari laughed softly. Yes, human. You may finish your exam. But her expression shifted, becoming thoughtful, even reverent. Just know, she added, whatever path you choose next, the galaxy will be watching. And for the first time since the entire incident began, Jace felt something strange. Not fear, not confusion, but responsibility. Because maybe, just maybe, the galaxy didn't need protection from humans. It needed protection with them. The final hours of the day passed in a blur of quiet reports, recalibrated security filters, and cultural analysts running simulations about humanity's risk-normalized cognition. The academy felt different now, tense, alert, but also strangely hopeful. Jace didn't know any of that. He was back in the exam hall. Alone. The same silent pods. The same glowing table. The same question 12 that started all of this. He took a slow breath and ranked the toxins using the general danger metric Carvel had finally approved. No fast kill. No pain scale. No forensic traceability. Just danger. He hit submit. A soft tone chimed. His exam was complete. The door slid open, revealing Instructor Carvel, looking more tired than Jace had ever seen him. It is finished? Carvel asked. Yeah, Jace said. Hope I passed. Carvel gave a quiet laugh, a sound he rarely made. If your earlier answers are any sign, you passed with scores we will be discussing for years. They walked out into the courtyard. But this time, it wasn't whispers. It wasn't fear. Hundreds of alien students stood gathered around the walkway. They gave Jace a respectful distance, but every eye was on him. Some curious, some nervous, some oddly inspired. And then it happened. A small, moss-covered student, barely knee-height, stepped forward with trembling leaves and held out a datapad. Human Jace? It squeaked. Could you sign my hazard notebook? Jace froze. Your what? My notes. On toxins. I never understood classification until you explained it. Several others stepped forward too. Human, may I observe your analysis methods? Do you truly survive among predators daily? Could you teach a workshop on Earth survival instincts? Jace's face went red. Carvel's antennae drooped. Oh stars, Carvel whispered. They think you're a mentor now. Before Jace could panic, Ambassador Zari approached from behind the crowd. Her expression was calm, but filled with quiet pride. This is only the beginning, Cadet Jace, she said. Your explanation today did more than clear a misunderstanding. It changed how we see your kind. Jace scratched his cheek. Is that a good change or a bad one? Zari smiled. A necessary one. She stepped closer, so only Jace and Carvel could hear her. The Council is forming a new branch of interstellar research. A division specializing in environmental danger, toxin response, and adaptive survival. They want humans involved, not as subjects, but as leaders. Jace blinked. Why me? Because you asked a question no one else could have asked, Zari replied. And because you answered it without fear. Carvel added softly. Because you see danger as information, not as a monster. The courtyard quieted as Jace looked around at the faces watching him. Some hopeful, some wary, some awestruck. He swallowed. Well, he said slowly, I wasn't trying to be anything big. I just wanted to learn how to save people. Zari nodded gently. Exactly. And that is why the galaxy needs your species. Jace stood there, feeling the weight of her words settle on him. Not like a burden, but like armor he didn't know he owned. A responsibility humans had always carried on their own world, but never realized mattered elsewhere. Carvel placed a hand on Jace's shoulder. What will you do now? Jace exhaled, long and thoughtful. I'll finish the semester. Learn as much as I can. And after that, maybe help write the new training protocols. Humans can teach caution. We can teach survival. We can help people understand danger instead of fearing it. Zari smiled. The galaxy will welcome that. The courtyard lights dimmed as evening settled across the academy campus. Students slowly dispersed, still glancing back at the human who had unintentionally shaken the foundations of interstellar policy. Jace looked up at the stars, so many worlds that had never known the strange, stubborn, terrifying resilience of Earth. Funny, he said softly. Back home, this would have been just another test. Carvel followed his gaze. On Earth, perhaps. Zari finished the thought, her voice warm. But out here, your test started a new chapter. Jace smiled, a small, honest smile. Guess I'll try not to break the next exam. They all laughed. And somewhere deep inside the Academy's central server, a new protocol activated. Cross-species safety standard, human model, active. Humanity's unique relationship with danger was no longer a threat. It was a resource, a lesson, a new ally the galaxy didn't know it needed. And Jace, the student who only wanted to clarify a question, had become the first example of what humans could bring to the stars. A quiet storm, a strange friend, and a guardian forged by a deadly home. This was only one story, and many more waited beyond the next sunrise.